So I finally got to watch the Riverfront brawl. I watched it like a day after it happened, but the way social media showed the video, and I should have watched it from other sources, was different. You have to watch that video from the end to the beginning twice. I commend Aaron Rudolph, that's the 16-year-old swimmer. Everybody's calling Aquaman. I didn't know he was 16. You see the video, you would think he's grown. Commend him. There's another teenager, which I didn't know this until while I was investigating. He's punched. So after the guy flings his hat in the air, the security officer, as the Caucasian thugs come to jump this worker, there is a guy running and he has a uniform and he has a vest. And he gets punched in the stomach. This is why I don't think that all of those thugs were drunk. Because let me tell you something. When people are drunk, you're usually stumbling. Now, there have been incidents where people have been drunk and they fight. But the fact that words are being exchanged, pauses are being made, people walking away, that's just part of the video. As the video progresses, fights erupt. And it takes at least an hour or two or more. And usually you have to sleep off being drunk. That's why I don't believe. It's straight up privilege. And that they don't want to follow rules. I am concerned those thugs that don't like to be told no and follow rules more than likely have children. They are raising their children to be entitled and not to follow rules. That's going to be an issue later on. People want to say, with the chair being thrown and other members fighting on the dock after the first part of the incident happened, oh, they were wrong, they should have let it go, police had the right to arrest them. Let me tell you something. People are tired of seeing people being taken advantage, especially African Americans, because people do not come to work to get assaulted and to be victims. There's an employee handbook that tells us as employees that we're not supposed to put our hands on the customers. Even when the customers are wrong, they're right. Then I stumble upon a video where a woman, she pushes one of the fighters, because that's what they are, thug/fighters, off the deck and into the water. She's fired. I'm not surprised that more than likely no charges will be brought upon those that instigated the fight and started the fight. But although that Riverfront brawl has become a meme, my heart goes out to the 65-year-old man, because me as a woman, and women are emotional. Imagine getting jumped by a group of people. The whole world is watching that video and I'm assaulted. At that point, there is no laughing matter. It's not. I would be embarrassed, and more than likely, I don't think I could come to work. Granted, yeah, the victims are getting support and monetary support and maybe GoFundMe, but the fact, it doesn't change the fact how that person will feel. I'm not going to lie, I smirked a little bit, but then after I watched the video and you sit back and you reflect, it's like, yeah, those victims have to be traumatized, especially the 65-year-old, because people come there to ride a boat. It's the summertime. People are trying to enjoy their summer. And then that happens. I must commend Gen Z because this generation, they really know the meaning of taking a stand, which we could all learn from. Because sometimes us adults, for some odd reason, we tend to act ignorant, and sometimes somebody younger have to turn on that switch in our brain and be like, oh, okay, this is how we need to act. I wanted to go to Alabama for Bloody Sunday, the anniversary. I didn't go. I don't want to visit Alabama or Mississippi no time soon. I lived in Georgia. I went to a predominantly Caucasian church. I've heard only one comment made about me, and I rubbed it off because keep in mind, I read about the civil rights movement. I knew what to expect when I became a member of that church. But then I've also had people outside my ethnicity treat me well, sometimes better than my own. So I don't want to say that all Caucasian people are evil. I'm not going to say that. I also know that there have people that were Caucasian that have stood up and marched with Martin Luther King, have took a stand during the civil rights movement. Some have died. But then you have, what the issue I have is that then you have some Caucasian that will make TikTok videos, Instagram, and be like, oh, that's wrong and whatnot. But then you have those that won't hold their people accountable, will stay silent, but are loud on social media. And those I have to question because let me tell you something. You can be loud and make a stand on social media, but you better be making sure that you're holding your people accountable when they're making insensitive comments or they're doing stuff like that on Riverfront. There's the Capitol Hill, then there's Riverfront, and then there was another situation that happened down south where there was protesters and somebody decided to use their car to run over innocent people. And then you have some that are doing stuff to people because they feel threatened, which is wrong. I try to teach my children that not everybody, and don't generalize certain people just because of a few rotten apples. Because I wouldn't want it done to us. But it's very sad that our children are growing up and it's like we were living the civil rights movement in a way. Because for example, when President Obama was in office, there was a lot of police brutality happening. He got out of office, Trump was in office, and then we see a man choked on TV. Trump is about to leave office. I never thought on my years on earth that it's possible to storm the Capitol, the White House. I never thought. Because I read and I even went to Washington, D.C. after the situation happened and saw that it's always security there. They follow the president, the vice president. There's always security. They don't allow visitors there. You cannot even get that close to the gate. So the fact that January 6th occurred, it's like, Shocking, but we already know that that might have been an insider doing. But again, unfortunately, there was a case, and it looks like the thugs for January 6th were let go. I would not feel comfortable knowing that those thugs on the riverfront could be politician parents or people's supervisor. Because if you act like that, imagine how you'll act at on the job, or what are you teaching your children? I could only imagine. That would make me uncomfortable and have to raise a lot of eyebrows, because there's no way you're given a warning to move the boat. Respectfully, the boat was removed. Then you come running and then you assault. And it's not only one person assaulting somebody, it's multiple. An employee at that. You see, in the state of New York, you insult an employee that works for the city or state, and even if you don't know they work for the city or state, but they're on duty, you're getting charged with a felony and can serve up to 7 years in prison. That goes to show you that you don't need to be putting your hands on certain people. I don't know how Alabama laws are, but as you can see, those that acted in self-defense have lost their job. So privilege does occur, because I'm sitting here thinking that African Americans have come a long way. Kamala Harris is in office. And again, I'm not a Democrat. I don't agree with their views, but I just pointed that out there. President Obama was in office. You have a few during election. This past election, a lot of people were upset. There were certain states that were red, they turned blue. Minorities were put in office. A lot of people are upset. So this election has brought out the worst in people. People have to know, adults, that you have to follow rules. You cannot put your hands on people. There will be serious consequences. But I'm starting to notice that people that know that they're privileged, although there may be consequences, they know that they won't serve jail time, and maybe they don't care to know that they will die. That's very sad, because now there's going to be a flock of young people that will end up becoming adults and that are going to think like their parents and their grandparents. And that is what we don't need. I saw comments stating, oh, finally they stick up for one each other, besides when they're fighting each other. I couldn't really be upset, because they're right. My people, we tend not to get along. But I had to address that. And the reason why I addressed that, because let me tell you something. Every ethnicity is not perfect. Muslims are not perfect, as we could see what happened in September 11th. Jews are not perfect, as you could see. Some of them tend to be slumlords. A lot of them are getting arrested for pedophilia. As you could see with the Asian hate, during that time, they set up businesses in low-income neighborhoods. They feel like they could mistreat the African American community. They got a taste of their medicine. Now they're being respectful. Now, although I'm using those examples, I'm only using that to show that every ethnicity has their issues. No one is perfect. So I'm not sure why everybody keeps saying, oh, African Americans are this, that, and the third. If you're going to talk about African Americans, talk about everybody else. Again, I don't have an issue with anybody. It was just examples, because I know I'm going to get somebody to be like, oh, well, you said something. No. I was just using an analogy. You don't like it, that's on you. Because one thing about me, I am a certain ethnicity, and the same way I have to hold my people accountable, I'm going to hold other people accountable, especially if I interact with different ethnicities living in New York. And one thing about me, I'm not hateful, nor do I condone hatefulness, being hateful. But I will make it known that there are some ethnicities that are not perfect too. And people need to start realizing that not every ethnicity is perfect and stop singling out African Americans. That's going to stop. I'm hoping that we have a conversation with our children, the importance to be respected, not earned. It should be given. The Bible says to love your neighbor. So right then and there, he's not saying that you earn their respect. It should be given to you. That people putting their hands on people that are doing their jobs is wrong. And that when we see something or injustice being done wrong, we act. We don't turn a blind eye. We don't mind our business. No, we take a stand, and that's wrong. Am I saying should we be violent? Hey, if it's to save a life, by all means. Or use discernment. Because again, I'm not a fighter. But I know if it's an elderly or a child, I'm getting involved. Respect. Speak out against injustice, and also to love each other and stand in unity. We should not be reliving the 1960s. We should not be seeing any group of individuals being mistreated. I never thought that I would see anti this law, hate crimes and whatnot. I never thought that, because I thought all of that was left in the civil rights movement. I read about those when I was a teenager, and to relive that in my early 30s, I am scared for my children, because that's the world we have to live in. So although people are making memes about the Riverfront incident, by all means, I understand you have to laugh instead of being sad, but a conversation needs to be had, because we'll continue seeing these incidents. And some of these incidents will be more than people being thrown off a deck or being bruised. Somebody's life will be taken, or lives will be taken. Let's stop the hate. Let's stop the privilege. If you're going to be privileged, use your privilege for good. To put an end to biases, mistreatment, and people that can't stand up for themselves. If you wanna be privileged in that aspect. Feel free to comment. Thank you for listening.